Hello, what's going on, guys? It's another edition. We got a lot of stuff to talk on today's show, and one thing that I wanted to talk about right off the bat. Let's just get right into it. I wish I had some music to play right now. It is, as you can see, 3:11 p.m., December 18th, couple hours after Argentina has won the World Cup. Congrats to them. Congrats to Lionel Messi. I put some tweets out there in the past couple of days showing my support. Uh, and I'll say this, I have not watched a single minute, a single second of the World Cup on my own. I've seen it in stores and if somebody's playing on a TV somewhere where I'm out, I've watched it, but I haven't sat down and watched a game on my own. So you won't get a lot of analysis from me. You look at Mbappe, what the heck, man? 3 goals in the game. That's pretty insane. Why World Cup makes Messi the best player ever. I mean, after he wins this was kind of one of those things. And I'm not a huge soccer nerd or somebody who has a lot of knowledge about soccer, but I think the biggest thing between Messi and Ronaldo was Ronaldo had the longevity and Messi had the individual success, but he never had the team success. And that this World Cup could be a place for him to cement himself. And obviously, now you see this video right here, why World Cup makes Messi the best player ever. But as somebody who didn't watch, and I really don't know too much about it at all. Shots on goal. All right, 10 shots on goal, 20 shots overall. Interesting, like interesting stats and how they do it. Lionel Messi in there. Interesting, interesting. But the thing about him is I did not realize how the World Cup kind of formulated its schedule. So if you go back and you remember the first game of the World Cup for Argentina, they lose to Saudi Arabia. And I believe now in Saudi Arabia, there is a day dedicated to when they defeated Argentina. So that's pretty pretty interesting. And then after watching this game, I was like, how does Argentina lose? Because I thought it was kind of like a March Madness where it's one and done. But apparently they um they were just given this first loss. I mean, Saudi Arabia got the win, but Argentina got the loss. They got that loss, and then they go right back against Mexico, and from then on, it was just win after win after win to get to the final and ultimately to win. And Messi played out of his mind, as you can see. Team leaders, goals, 6 matches, 5 goals with 3 assists. So Messi played one of his greatest tournaments of all time, and he capped it off with the World Cup win. World Cup win. And the thing about soccer is I don't find it too boring to watch. I think it's a very cool chess match. But one, I don't have the channels to really watch it. And two, I really, as of right now, don't know who's too good. I know Barcelona, Real Madrid, maybe Liverpool. I'm not sure. But outside of that, I really don't know. I have no idea. I know Neymar's good, and I think he's on Paris Saint-Germain. That's how, if that's even what the team name is. I'm really not knowledgeable about this, but obviously this is something that is very cool. And now, as you can see, this is an article by goal.com. It's just kind of going through all the entire history of the World Cup here. The World Cup started 1930 and has commenced every 4 years since. Most World Cups obviously is going to be Brazil with 5, followed by Germany. Germany did not win it this year, but Messi, you will see this list for those that are just listening. It is a list of the 10 top goal scorers in World Cup history. Number one, Miroslav Klose, 24 matches, 16 goals. He is the leader right now. And then you can see followed by Ronaldo with Brazil, 15 goals, 19 matches. Gerd Muller, West Germany, 14 goals in 13 matches. Just Fontaine from France, 13 goals in 6 matches. That's insane. That's crazy. Pele for Brazil at the 5 spot, 12 goals in 14 matches. And then it kind of follows along as you go onward. And the one thing I wanted to look up was, well, where's Messi at now after this? He scored 5 goals, his most ever in a World Cup. And I mean, the other thing is, I don't know. Ooh, goals per 90 minutes. So goals per 90 minutes. His first year, he averaged 0.740 in 2010. His second, 0.52 in 14, 0.25 in 2018, and 0.79 this year. So his highest goals per 90 minutes. I guess that's somewhat good. And 5 goals, 3 assists. Absolutely dominant. So in total, that's 5, 6, 10, 11. He is 11 right now. So he is going to be tied with Sandor Kostis, and Jurgen Klinsmann, or Jurgen, I'm not sure, from West Germany or slash Germany. Both of those with 11 goals apiece. Sandor Kostis, or Coxis, I'm not sure, from Hungary, 11 goals in 5 matches. Crazy. Crazy. Over 2 goals a game. So that's where Messi is sitting right now. Is this going to be his last one? I don't think so. He's 34. I think he could go until he's probably 30. I think 38, he could probably get another goal or two. I don't see why not. I don't know if we'll get Miroslav close. I'm not sure that'll get to that level. But with that being said, interesting. I really, when I was the last World Series I watched was probably 2014, I want to say. 2014 was probably the last one that I watched. Since then, even the 2018, I didn't really watch either, but I do remember seeing Argentina losing that one. And I was like, dang. That was kind of when the questions surrounding Lionel Messi, once again, I'm not an expert, but part of the questions surrounding him were, hey, is this guy good? But as it stands right now, he's pretty good. All right, moving on to football. I we got to talk about football on a Saturday. I was originally going to record a podcast on Saturday, but I decided instead to just go today because there were games all day Saturday, and thank God I did. I should have done like a live stream or something during the Colts Vikings game, but I did not know that that would be one of the greatest games I've ever seen. 49ers, Seahawks, 21-13, Thursday night football. I thought it was a pretty boring game. I think the 49ers could, even with Brock Purdy as their quarterback and no Jimmy Garoppolo, I think they could potentially win a playoff game. But I don't see them going to the AFC Championship or the Super Bowl. I think the 49ers offensively and defensively are a very balanced team because you have solid defense. You got a great defensive line. Your cornerbacks are playing very well this year. Secondary. Obviously, those linebackers are out of this world. And then offensively, if you're able to get Christian McCaffrey involved as much as you have been, 108 rushing yards in this game, and you're able to get him, I don't know, say 5, 6 catches a game, maybe he can start scoring with you in that area. There's so many ways that you can utilize him and use him. So I really think that the 49ers, if they rely heavily on Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle, and sometimes open it up and throw it down the field, that they could be very successful and possibly, it's a possibility that they win a playoff game. And then, I mean, right off the next one was this Colts Vikings game. This was a game I turned off the second quarter. I was watching the game and I was like, man, the Colts are really just beating them up. I mean, as we go in here, you can kind of see the pure dominance. First quarter, 17 points. 17 points in the first quarter. They had that blocked punt return to make it 10-0. And then, I mean, you can see just kind of how fast from this 9-11 to 8-12. So, in the span of about a minute or so, they scored off a blocked punt. And so they were 10 up with 8 minutes to go in the first quarter. And then once they got up to 17, um, it kind of felt like, because I mean, even at that point, 14 would be a lot, but 17 feels almost like it's four scores that you have to get back into it for the Vikings. And then after that, it was just field goal, interception return with 5:50 left, and then right to go into halftime, that field goal. They kind of diced them up, but they were able to score off turnovers. That's how they scored. They only had one really offensive play. They had the Blackman 17-yard interception return, and then they had the JoJo Doman blocked punt return. And that was going into halftime. But then once halftime came out, they started slow. They started slow. But once they got into it, it was all Vikings. From the last minute of the third quarter until overtime. Yeah, well, overtime was another story, but from a minute 13 in the third quarter until the end of the game, it was all Vikings. They were insane. They had some huge amounts of luck. Huge luck. They had I mean, this 64-yard pass to Dalvin Cook, just an insanely lucky play. 2 minutes, 15 seconds left. If they don't convert here, or if they waste too much time off the clock, they're not winning this game. So just a total amount of luck for them. And I kind of want to see like the highlights of how it came out after halftime. So going into halftime, it was 33-0 here, correct? And you see immediately coming out of halftime, a little bit slow with the Vikings. They really didn't start to hit until halfway through here, where they were actually starting to put together some drives. But I thought that the game was over looking at quarter three is about halfway done. Yes, KJ Osborne up until this point in the game was good. And then, I mean, this play right here set up the KJ Osborne ultimate um, touchdown that you can see right over here. This KJ Osborne 2-yard pass, 8:22. That's kind of what gave them a little glimmer of hope. You're like, okay, well, at this point, maybe KJ Osborne is a guy that we can actually rely on because Justin Jefferson also huge point at this point in the game, point of emphasis was Adam Thielen had not been targeted. I don't think he had a single catch up to this point in the game. He did finish with a touchdown though. So later on in the game, he became more impactful, but up until this point at 5.5 minutes left in the third, there's still no Adam Thielen. And then this is the last point scored by the Colts for the day, right there at about 5 minutes left in the third quarter. And then it was just all Vikings. They were just able to, for whatever reason, they were playing sort of an up tempo. It wasn't full no huddle, but they were playing fast paced. And they were just able to move the ball. They were able to start throwing the ball down the field a lot more. Yet Justin Jefferson really, really come out into his open. And of course, there's an ad. Excuse me with the ad. And you can just see them methodically going down. And then we'll fast forward. Boom. KJ Osborne. All right, 14. This is the touchdown pass to Justin Jefferson. He absolutely crossed up Stephon Gilmore. I hope they show the replay here, but he crosses him up. I hope they show this replay. Let's see this. They don't, but he does a very good route. If you can find another replay of it, do it. Huge stop right there on 3rd and 5. Vikings get the ball back. And here's the Dalvin. There you go. Dalvin Cook catching passes. About 10 minutes left. 21-36. Can they do it? They need 15 points. 15 points. 9 minutes left. Yeah, KJ Osborne went absolutely off, a career high in receiving yards for his career. Kirk Cousins was throwing it out, and it's intercepted. And you thought the game was over there. Game is over right here. You thought the game was over right there. But if you see 3rd and 8, Indianapolis back up on their own end zone. I think they're about on the 4-yard line. They're not in a good spot, even though they got the turnover there. So 3rd and 8, the Vikings defense is able to hold them up. Here's his 3rd down play. Matt Ryan drops the pass. Now what do? They got to punt it. 7 minutes left. Here come the Vikings. 20 still need 15 points with 7 minutes left in the game. There's Adam Thielen's first target and first catch with 7 minutes left in the game. 21-36. Big time. They're starting to get in a rhythm. Starting to move it down. There you go. There you go, Osborne. Breaking tackles. About 6.5 minutes left. They still got a ways to go. 3rd and goal. Pop it right over. There's Adam Thielen. Earlier got his first catch. Now he's got his first target. You can see, boom. Things really start heating up here. Really start heating up. Defense played lights out in the 4th quarter right here, getting pressure on Matt Ryan. And I do hope that they do have this replay in here later than I wanted to see. And there's this fumble. Just watch this right here. I hope they show this replay. And it pops out. I agree with you, Nate Burleson. So that was actually not ruled a scoop and a score. It was just down at the place where it dropped. So now you have this drive where the Vikings are about to go 3-and-out. It's 3rd and 6, 3 minutes left to go in the game. They're on the 47, I believe, 47-yard line in enemy territory. 3 minutes to go, 28-36. Let's see what they do. Stephon Gilmore just getting absolutely cooked by Jefferson down the stretch. Just it was interesting to watch. 3 minutes here. 3 minutes left. There's the throw. 3rd and 10. 3rd and 10. Incomplete pass. 4th and 10. Also, another thing, earlier in this game, Justin Jefferson got hit very hard by Stephon Gilmore. and he had to come out for and go into the blue tent. And people were questioning, hey, is he going to come back? Well, ultimately he did. And I mean, he helped them seal out the win. So that is also something else to think about throughout this game. There we go. Watch this. Game's over. Game's over. Kirk Cousins, 4th and 15. He gets pressure. He runs it up the middle. Kirk Cousins is doing this. He has 15 yards to go. Why is he running? He has to throw the ball down the field. Instead, he ends up taking a sack, and the Colts take over. 2:52, 28-36. Colts are ahead. Starting to get some real rushing yards. 2:46, they just got a first down right here. They just got to run out the clock. Just run out the clock. All right, 2:37. It's 3rd and 7 right here. They need to convert this. Otherwise, you have the opportunity to give Minnesota a chance to score before the 2-minute warning. Let's see what they do here. 3rd and 7, Matt Ryan. Hands it off. He's short. 4th and 1, right here. 2:31 left to go in the game. 36-28. Matt Ryan tries to rush for it. Where did they spot it? This was make or break. This is the game on the line right here, this call. 2:20, 4th and 1. Matt Ryan tries to QB sneak. 36-28. Uh-oh. Somebody's a little short. All right, Vikings take over 2:28. All right. They're basically on their 35-yard line. They got to go the length of the field. They got to get 2 scores. 36-28. So they set up a screen pass, 2:27 here to Dalvin Cook. And if you're watching on video, you can see, I'll say, right here on the screen, this guy looks like he's going to be able to get him. And for the listeners, it looks like Dalvin Cook's going to get tackled here. But watch what happens. Good blocking, cuts it back. He gets hit. Oh, he gets hit. He gets hit, but he stays up. 2 minutes and 15 seconds left. Dalvin Cook, 64-yard touchdown off a screen pass, 34-36. Here's the 2-point conversion to tie the game and send this thing to overtime if nobody else scores. TJ Hawkinson scores the 2-point conversion. This thing is all tied up. It is all tied up. It was 33-0 at halftime. They had all the leverage. Third quarter, they really struggled starting out. But like I said, once they caught fire, there was no stopping them. Now we got the Colts. 3rd and 5 here. 1:55 left in the game. Tied game. They gave up this massive lead. What will they do now? Pittman catches the ball short. There's 2 defenders there with a third coming on. And he's short. Gonna have to go for it on 4th down. And they decide to punt it. Interesting choice there. They trust their defense. But this would ultimately be what did him in. 3rd and 1, Vikings. Able to get a bunch of time off the clock. Ball is snapped with 42 seconds left to go in the fourth. Cousins again tries to run for the first down, and he's down. I thought he might have learned his lessons when it's third. I mean, the 4th and 15 was inexcusable. This one is much more manageable, but still, same exact thing happens. Tries to rush for it, and he gets caught. Now it's 4th down. Clock is running. 13 seconds. Matt Ryan. They weren't able to get it done either. So now we go into overtime. And overtime was just really bad. Not a lot of offensive success for either teams. It was just rough. People were just fighting over who was going to go to get a field goal. That was what the race was. Took them forever to drive down the field. It was crazy. TJ Hockenson has been a huge pickup for them. Huge pickup, very, very helpful. But I mean, you can kind of see how it develops right there. So you see later in the play-by-play is what I want. All right, is it going to take me down? Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Wait, OC. This is kind of how it happens. Look at this. You can see Minnesota has the ball twice. Or, yeah, you can see the ball. 7 yards. Boom. Incomplete. They weren't able to get it done. On 3rd and 24, 14-yard pass. Not enough. They punt it. 4 minutes and 50 seconds left is what the Colts got to work with. And here's what they did. 5-yard run, 2nd and 5. All right, 15-yard pass. Now it's 1st and 10 on their 33-yard line. Sacked. And then this was an interesting one because this was challenged. Matt Ryan fumbles, and then it's by recovered. Alec Pierce. So still Colts ball. 2nd and 9, incomplete pass. 3rd and 9, and it's short of the first down. Then they get 1 yard, and boom. Now is where they start to fall apart. No gain, Michael Pittman, Matt Ryan with 1:53 left to go in overtime. 3rd and 9. He's got to get this here. And he doesn't. Doesn't. And they punt. 4th and 9. You're not going for it there. You got to punt. You're on the Indiana 44. If you give that spot up right there, that's a good spot for the Vikings. And you see Dalvin Cook, 6-yard run, 15-yard catch, 21-yard catch, 48 seconds, 13-yard. And luckily that on first down they had this incomplete pass to TJ Hockenson because this has stopped the clock. You see 48, 21-yard pass to Thielen, and then 24 seconds is the incomplete pass. So 20 seconds came off the clock. And just talked about it right there. Let's watch it. What it looked like as it happened in real time. Peterson, I thought he was done. I thought he was really hurt. Third and 9. Now first and 10. Just watch how it unfolds. Watch how it unfolds. Incomplete pass. And you just see the Vikings. They're able to come down. They're able to come down and just get things done. Now they do take a lot of time off the clock, but I'm about to pass the 50-yard line. Now they're in field goal range with 38 seconds. This is after that. And then you can see right here, there was a flag on this play because he was being held down by the Colts defender. And Nate Burleson, I don't know if they'll show it here, but Nate Burleson made a good point that you're taught to do that, but it's still illegal. Yeah, delay of game. And the game's over. We're able to win the game. Whoops. That, folks, that's how you lose a game. Jefferson, delay a game, gives them 5 yards. Indiana 27. And they go and kick it. Kick it from the 22-yard line to win the game in the game that I thought was the most insane game I have ever seen in my entire life. It felt very long because once you got to overtime, both teams kind of struggled. But now we have today. So it is now 3:43. Steelers, Panthers. You hope for the Steelers' sake that they're able to win this game, even though they are on the road, and hopefully Kenny Pickett can outplay Sam Darnold. Because if he's unable to outperform Sam Darnold and the Panthers defense, then there might need to be some conversations that need to be talked about because their defense isn't too great. It's not all time. But got the Eagles in a close game against the Bears. Justin Fields 95 yards rushing. This is an interesting game. 2 interceptions for Jalen Hurts. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That is an interesting one to see there. That is very interesting to see. I have my phone here too, and I'm watching some of the games. I have the Panthers. Very interesting. All right. We also got Falcons Saints. Just an awful division. Oh, Tyler Algier. Oh, I had him on my fantasy team and I dropped him. Oh man. Well, that stinks. Jets. Zach Wilson is in today. Of course, they only have 10 points with 4:35 in the fourth, and I decided Garrett Wilson was a smart play for fantasy. They might lose to the Lions. Also, I have Amon-Ra St. Brown. Also kind of stinks. Cowboys, Jags, 34-31. Jags really, I don't think the Jags are too bad of a team. I just think they have some holes that they really got to fill. Their defense really has to improve, but offensively, I feel like they kind of got the receivers figured out. Christian Kirk has been very good for them. Even though they seem to have paid him a lot of money, I think it's really worked out for them. And then Travis Etienne, they traded away James Robinson, and Travis Etienne was immediately able to step into that role and be their number one running back. I think give this head coaching staff another year, and you could possibly get 8 or 9 wins out of this team. I don't think they'll go to the playoffs, but you can get 8 or 9 wins out of this roster with a couple extra draft picks and maybe a big free agent signing. You have the story right here. Evan Ingram open to returning to the Jags. That's good for them. Yeah, you got to remember they played close against the Chiefs. Now versus the Cowboys. Chiefs Texans. Oh no. Oh no. What's going on in this game? Texans 1-11. Oh man. Just Justin Fields exit games versus Eagle with right leg injury and is replaced by Nathan Peterman. Looks like the Eagles will win that game now. Wow. So let's see what's happened in this game. Touchdown. So going into halftime, it was about tied. And wow, they Texans tied it up with 5:11 in the fourth. Who's got the ball? It's in an intermission right now. Oh man, Chiefs are about to get the ball. Are they going to be able to pull it out? I don't know. Win probably right now is 55.9% for the Chiefs. We'll have to check in on that game. Wow. Wow. Interesting already. And then, I mean, later tonight, you have some great games going on. I mean, you have the Cardinals, Broncos. This is going to be one of the worst games I've ever seen with my own eyes. Titans, Chargers. I thought the Chargers were going to be so much better this year, but for whatever reason, that team always has injuries at the most important positions. And for the Chargers, it's wide receivers. They have been without their top two wide receivers for just about 100% of the season. Bengals, Bucks. I think the Bucks win this game. I don't know. I don't know what it is about the Bucks, but their defense just is too good. Too good for them not to be able to play in this game. I mean, you look at their rushing yards, they're last in the NFL. In takeaways, they're 18th, which is not good. They're -2. We got to create more turnovers and stop turnovers on offense. Their their point differential really is not good at all. But they've been kind of banged up and they've been kind of slow. And I mean, you could say in terms of banged up, the Bengals are banged up too. But I would take the Bucks here. I think they'll upset them. 3.5. Give me the Bucks. Give me the Bucks. I'm not betting. I'm not betting. I'm not betting on it, but I'm just saying in general. Primetime game. Patriots Raiders. Bill Belichick against his former offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels. It's going to be a bloodbath. I have no idea why they have the Patriots as a 1 point favorite. Let's check the injuries report. They're really hurt at a lot of positions. And maybe that's why. Josh Jacobs, please play well because he's on my fantasy team. I want him to rush for 1 billion yards. But with that being said, you have this game tonight. I would take the Patriots. If they were favored by 3, I would still take them. 3.5, I'm starting to say, hey, nah, I don't know. I think this will be a very close game, but I just don't see the Patriots losing to the Raiders. I'm sorry. Maybe Devontae Adams has a crazy game where he goes off, but I don't see it. Monday night, Packers, Rams. What are the Packers favored? Packers favored by 7. Yeah, the Rams have been very, very bad this year. 4-9 doesn't describe how poor they've played. Been, I mean, Aaron Donald injury. They've been really, really hurt, but the Packers have also been hurt. I mean, David Bakhtiari feels like he has not been able to play forever. And when he does play, the next game he's injured. Interesting. Interesting, interesting. I mean, here's the playoff picture. Bills. Do you think the Bills go to the Super Bowl? I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know. I think that it will be the Bills and the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. I don't know if the Bills can beat the Chiefs. I don't know if they're ready for that yet. Vikings, 21% Super Bowl. I don't see it. I don't see it. You win a very close game where you have to go to overtime against the Colts. Yes, a 33-point comeback is great, but the fact that they were in that hole, bad special teams, they had two turnovers that led to scores, special teams, and then a Kirk Cousin play, I believe, right? Let me double check that. Yeah, interception. Can't do that. Can't let them score off turnovers. Interesting, interesting. So yeah, that's the NFL this week. And the NFL currently is crazy, 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 crazy. Let me check real quick my fantasy. I got to see what the situation is right now. Give me one quick second. I know this is very bad radio. Okay. I'll run through my lineup. Currently, right now, quarterback for me, Joe Burrow. Running back one, Isaiah Pacheco, 8.5 points currently. Josh Jacobs is my second running back. Stephon Diggs at wide receiver. He got me 10.7 points. Amon-Ra St. Brown at wide receiver. 15.2 points, so good. Good. That's what I expect from him. Tight end David Njoku, recently added to the roster in this past week. He got me 5.8 points. I did not expect the game with Baltimore to be so bad, but I do wonder if because the game was on a Saturday, people's internal clocks were messed up because they're used to playing Sundays. But that's just a theory. At the flex position, Garrett Wilson. That pisses me off. Garrett Wilson, 8.6, two receptions, 66 yards, defensive special teams, Patriots. And the kicker, Daniel Carlson. On my bench, DK Metcalf, 12 and a half points. I didn't think that that game would be high scoring, and I feel comfortable with that decision. Kadero Patterson, 12.2 points. I've given up on him because there's some weeks where he scores two, and then there's a game like today where they run 55 times and he's able to score a bunch. Tyler Conklin should probably drop him, pick up another person, but he has had a couple of games where he's went off. He had 1.9 points against Detroit, unless he scores now with 2.5 minutes left in the game. I also have Latavius Murray. I picked him up after Melvin Gordon was dropped. He's projected 12.9 points. So maybe does better than Isaiah Pacheco, unless Isaiah Pacheco scores here, which would be nice. Jamal Williams, 2.5 minutes left to go in the third quarter or fourth quarter, or 2 minutes in the fourth. 3.3 points up to this point. Very glad I'm not starting him. And then I also have Chris Moore from the Houston Texans. He's got two minutes. He's also playing the Chiefs as well. He's got 8.2 points right now. And finally, the tight end I shoulda had in today. He just got recently added to the roster. But Evan Ingram, 12.7 points today. And I had him on my bench. That's the one that I'm kind of upset about. My team is 9-5 right now. Had some early struggles on draft day. I think my roster was like projected to like end up eighth or something in the entire league. And at this point, I'm third in the Western Conference, 9-5. I'm 3 games back, but I have a 100% chance to make the playoffs because on the East side, their division was absolutely garbage. Their number one person on the East is 9-5, same record as me. Everybody after that, 8-6, 7-7, 6-8, 3-11. Crazy, 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 crazy. Then on the West, it's 12-2, 10-4, 9-5. So I'm probably not going to win in the playoffs, but at least we made it. Moving on, let's talk about some stuff that's going on outside. Let's talk about GNZ11. Astronomers have more accurately measured the distance to the oldest and farthest galaxy ever detected. The light they're seeing left the galaxy known as GNZ11 around 13.4 billion years ago, when the universe was a cosmic toddler, and this galaxy marks the very edge of the observable universe. Interesting. Interesting. I'm trying to find if they have any pictures of it, but they used redshift to actually look at this thing because when you're so far away from Earth and you're looking at things that are trillions and trillions of light years away, not just billions, but trillions, you're looking at a light that is so far gone from you in a universe that is expanding so fast the further you get out that the light becomes more red shifted because it's moving away at you faster than you are moving towards it. So the light that you're detecting is a little bit red shifted if you look at a wavelength spectrum. It's something I've talked about on the podcast before. The idea of red shifting when you hear a ambulance coming towards you, it's more higher pitched. And when ambulance is driving away from you, it's in a lower pitch. It's kind of the same idea that happens with light when you're looking out at things that are billions, billions. Oh, so not trillions, 32 billions. Yeah, 32 billion light years away is how far away this thing actually is from us. So it's not very close. And so what is this thing? I found this really cool video by Sci News. So let's tune in and let's watch this. Astronomers measure the distance, most remote galaxy ever seen in the universe. So you can see right here, it's a tiny, tiny dot on an image of just a bunch of star systems. 13.4 billion years in the past. All right, so you see the Big Dipper and Ursa Major, the constellation Ursa Major. Okay. And if you look right above the Big Dipper, right above where the ladle is, and you zoom in a lot, and you keep zooming in, and this thing is just keep going in, you get to see this little section right here. GNZ11 existed only 400 million years after the Big Bang. So this thing's pretty old. Pretty old. You can see present day furthest galaxy ever seen. And this is by the Hubble, by the way, but I'll talk about that later. So its redshift, as you can see here, is regarded as Z. Z is the amount of redshift. So there is 11.1 units of redshift compared to Z 8.68 units of redshift by the previous record holder. So this is extremely much further away. And that's the end of that. And part of why I wanted to talk about this is because this was discovered by the Hubble. And now that we have the James Webb Space Telescope out there, it's going to get freaking crazy. You're going to be able to see much further into the past and also with much more intensity and ability to see details. And I think it's going to revolutionize the way that our civilization here on Earth looks back at the past. I mean, you have the ability to use infrared light with the James Webb Space Telescopes. You're able to see the things that are redshifted, and that's part of the design of it. So it can see stuff that is super far away and that is super small. And that's what it's doing right now. And before we continue on, I want to break up the news cycle a little bit and talk about this story. So, Los Angeles and the state of California is an interesting place, to say the least. On December 1st, 2022, 10 students treated after suspected cannabis overdose at Van Nuys Middle School. A lot of immediately right off the bat, there's a lot of questions that you would want to ask. But let's just kind of read what's happening. A total of 10 students were evaluated Thursday morning after a suspected cannabis dose at Van Nuys Middle School. At around 11:20 a.m., Los Angeles firefighters responded to the campus. And then upon finding there, they found some interesting stuff. They found some things that they found concerning to them. Students 12 to 14 years old were found to be in mild to moderate distress, fire officials said in an updated alert. So they updated it. The students appeared lethargic and had a glazed over look. A glazed over look. 7 were taken to local hospitalized that specialize in pediatric medicine, while 3 were released at the scene. Do those kids have prior experience with the subjects or substance, I should say? Not sure. I'm just speculating. I'm speculating. School was searched for additional victims, but no students were unaccounted for. That's good. Parents were seen rushing to the school to make sure their children were unharmed. That would be very concerning if you are a parent and at school you get a call. Hey, you know John? Yeah, I know John. That's my son. Yeah, he took about 50 milligrams straight to the face. That's not good. That's very concerning. Very concerning. The incident was not fentanyl related, crews at the scenes confirmed, but they said it could possibly be cannabis edibles. Multiple questions. Multiple questions. How are they getting this stuff? Right? How are they doing this? Where are they getting these supplies of these substances? I'm not sure. Do you know? Do you know? Now, to the best of my knowledge, no deaths or anything. It was just, yeah. This last line is the most important. Authorities are still investigating how the substance made its way onto campus and into the hands of students. How did 10 students, 10 students, 12 to 14 years old, they're not high schoolers, 12 to 14 years old, how did these kids get cannabis edibles? Because these were definitely edibles. They took something, maybe I don't even know. Here's where the fun part comes in. We can speculate. I don't know. I mean, if you go down the route of they purchased it, one, they're 12 to 14. How are they getting the money to purchase it? Maybe they're really big into crypto. I mean, Bitcoin has taken a major, major hit back from when it was at like $60,000 a Bitcoin, taking a major hit. Maybe they're doing that. Maybe that's how they got rich. But then again, how would they get the money in order to buy a piece of Bitcoin? I'm not sure. Maybe the kids stole it. Where did they possibly steal it from? I'm not sure. Any other options on how these kids got this stuff? I don't know. It's kind of concerning. It's a little concerning. But always I guess a bigger picture here is if you're going to be doing substances, drugs, whether that's caffeine, whether that's tobacco, whether that's nicotine, whether that's heroin, whether that's cocaine, don't overdo it. Be safe, be careful. And if you're 12 to 14, I don't know how many listeners of that age that I have, but if you are that age, I advise you not to consume these products as much as you think it's really cool. And as much as your friends say, yo, if you don't do this, you're not cool. Doesn't really matter what they say. But anywho, I also wanted to talk about one of another very weird story. I don't know if you guys saw this. Tuvalu Digital Nation. So what happens when you search it up? Why this Pacific island has become the world's first digital country. Let's watch this video.
Choice, but to become the world's first digital nation. Our land, our ocean, our culture, the most precious asset to our people.
That is Simon Cove, basically the president of Tuvalu. Tuvalu.
To keep them safe from harm, no matter what happens in the physical world, move them to the cloud. Islands like this one won't survive rapid temperature increases, rising sea levels, and droughts, so we'll recreate them virtually. Piece by piece, we'll preserve our.
And now in the video, you can see behind him, this is for the audio listeners, you can see behind him that pieces are being generated of this particular island that he's on.
Once was. Only concerted global effort can ensure that Tuvalu does not move permanently online, disappear forever from the physical plane. Without a global conscience, global commitment to our shared well-being, we may soon find the rest of the world turning us online.
Both had previously addressed the COP26 climate conference while knee-deep in water to highlight climate crisis and sea levels rise. So what is this place? Tuvalu. 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 Microstate in the Polynesian subregion of Oceania in the Pacific Ocean. You can see on this map right over here. It's pretty much in right by Australia. It's kind of what it's close to. First inhabitants were Polynesians. So this is a Wikipedia article about the history of it. Make sure you check it out so you kind of know some of the history about it, how it started, beginning of trading and travelers that came to and from the island, the impact of the world wars on this particular island, the geography and the environmental pressures, which is kind of what I'm going to focus on, and then climate as well, and the impact of climate change. And to start off, I am not an expert when it comes to climate change or the weather whatsoever, which I think is not too difficult to gather from the content on this podcast. However, I'm just going to take the article at face value. So if they say climate change is real, according to this article, I'm not going to make any statements because I don't know. But wanted to preface that before we get into this. Tuvalu experiences two distinct seasons, a wet season from November to April and a dry season, May to October. Experiences the effects of El Nino and La Nina, which is caused by changes in ocean temperatures in the equatorial and central Pacific. El Nino increases the chance of tropical storms and cyclones. La Nina effects increase the chance of drought. So if you have both of those happening throughout the year, it's a little tough to live on that island. 200 to 400 millimeters, 8 to 16 inches of rainfall per month on the islands. Very, that seems like a lot of rain. Seems like a lot of rain. And now here we go to impact of climate change. So there is a climate change in Tuvalu article. Climate change in Tuvalu is particularly threatening for the long-term habitability of the island state of Tuvalu. This is because the average height of the island is less than 2 meters, 6.6 feet above sea level, with the highest point of one of the islands being about 4.6 or 15 feet above sea level. So on average, they're less than 7 feet above sea level. So if the sea level really starts to rise over more than a couple of feet, they're not going to be doing good. A lot of their infrastructure is going to be taken out. But that's the that's the key question. Is it going to happen? Some people would say yes, others would say no. I'm going to say I'm not sure. As low-lying islands lacking a surrounding shallow shelf, the community of Tuvalu are especially susceptible to changes in sea levels and undissipated storms. There were problems associated with the pre-1993 sea level records from Funafuti, which resulted in improvements in the recording technology to provide more reliable data for analysis. Tuvalu has adopted a national plan of action as the observable transformation over the last 10 years change the sea levels. Okay, here we go. In November of 2022, Simon Kof, Minister for Justice, Communication and Foreign Affairs, proclaimed that in response to rising sea levels and the perceived failures by the outside worlds to combat global warming, the country would be uploading a virtual version of itself to the metaverse in an effort to preserve its history and culture. And that's where this video comes. He is stating the results of climate change that are already affecting this island. These are his words. The amount of climate change that is already affecting our island, that is already affecting our people, has forced us to become a digital nation. Now, what does that mean? That's what I'm trying to figure out. That's what I want to know. So let's go back. Let's check this out. Tuvalu Digital Nation. TheDrum.com. Why would they want to become a digital nation? Obviously, if you can't have a physical place for your country to be, the best course of action would be to have a digital one so it still stays there. This is that speech again. Tuvalu enlisted Accenture Song-owned agency, the Monkeys and Collider, to co-create its presence in the metaverse, starting with its smallest island, Tiafuliku Islet. Project will catalog, map, record, and save historical documents, records of cultural family practice, family album, and traditional songs. The aim is to capture as much of the Tuvaluan island life as possible. So it's basically a server for this entire country where it's going to be daily life. You're just hanging out with people and you're chilling. I'm ready to go. All right, so that's not even a different article. The monkeys have created a dedicated website showing the digital project's progress. All right, so let's see. I know I'm spelling this wrong. Tuvalu Island. Rising sea levels becomes the first to join the metaverse. Metaverse. Are they able to play games with the island? I really don't understand the metaverse at all. However, yes, mirror speech. Commenting on the role of creating agencies in taking action on the climate crisis, Ford noted, Tara Ford, chief creative officer for the Monkeys. Okay. Ford noted the increasing importance of sustainability for consumers has made action an imperative rather than a choice for the majority of the Monkeys clients. And okay. As creative problem solvers, we see our role as stretching the application of creative thinking to new problems and issues beyond the traditional scope of an advertising agency. Yeah, there was not really much that you could see. I mean, you think 10, 15, 20 years ago, they were not even thinking about a metaverse whatsoever. That was just a movie called The Matrix. This digital place where things existed in their own world, in their own reality. And there have been books written on digital spaces, the multiverse, now the metaverse, is the first part of our country. So now upload, I don't even know what this save the real Tulu. Is this just a picture? This isn't the website. This is very helpful. All right. Film live at dedicated campaign. All right, let's go here. Let's go to the website. I want to see what the hell is going on with this thing. All right, let's go right here. Tuvalu.tv. Here we go. Rising sea levels will swallow Tuvalu in a matter of decades. What happens to a country without land? I don't know. You stop existing? Where will we call home? Yeah, that's an issue. There's the island. The first digital nation. Watch the COP27 address. We have already seen that. It's now uploading. So this is the island, I guess. This is the island that is digital. But see, like, is this island that I'm looking at right here, right now? 918. I don't know what any of this information means. It's not. It's 9:18 a.m. I don't know what any of this means. Obviously, these are coordinates up here. Save the real Tuvalu. Okay. Sign the Paris Agreement, illegally banning on climate change. Limit global average temperature increase to, okay. World needs to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 45% by 2030. Instead, we're headed for an increase. As global temperatures rise, fires will rage, ice sheets will collapse, droughts will choke. Okay. This is right now. Yes. Okay. We must eliminate our country's reliance on fossil fuels and provide renewable energy infrastructure. Okay. Okay. We demand this action from our leaders, not just for Tuvalu's sake, but for everyone's. Save Tuvalu, save the world. Powered by do-gooder. Who is find your environment minister? I'm not gonna send that, but okay, so they got their message. Fascinating. What happens if their entire country goes under? What happens if their entire country is digital? Is there maybe, do you think there was maybe some pressure that was put on them by other governments around the world who are hoping to do some kind of digital land where part of their country is completely digital and it's a state-run metaverse? It's its own metaverse server that is controlled by the government. And those countries that are looking to do that reach out and say, hey, I think you guys are starting to lose your land because the ice caps are melting, climate change, all this and that. Sea levels are going to rise over the next couple of decades, and your entire country is going to be underwater. So, how about you put forward this idea of having it be in the metaverse on your own server, on your own platform within the metaverse? Did Facebook reach out to them? Did they reach out to Facebook? I'm not sure. But, anyways, is there something sinister behind this? Is this the first step of other countries saying, we're a small country. We only have a couple 100,000 people that live here. However, from now on, we will be a completely 100% digital world. Everything that is of property belongs to the digital space, to the metaverse server, and that server is owned by the government. Like, is that where this goes to? Or is this a great thing where people are able to have a digital space where they are able to interact with their government much more effectively and efficiently, or able to be in a digital space? And it's not like you have to drive down to the courthouse to meet with your local representative or go down to the Republican place or go down to the Democratic place and meet somebody there, talk to a receptionist, say, hey, I want to talk to this person. Okay, they're in a meeting right now. Okay. Maybe in a digital universe, maybe you're able to skip all that and speak to them directly. I don't know. I have no idea. But I do think that this isn't just a little thing, that this is something that I think if we look 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the line, you could potentially see where this could possibly be the norm for some countries. Maybe there's a bigger country, maybe say a big country like China says, okay, this section of China is now a digital part. So everything that you own will be taken away from you. You'll be hooked up and you'll be in a digital world. I mean, we're talking 30 years from now. Will they have the technology to be able to make everything in your life digital? Possibly. Maybe they enforce you to take and wear a headset or have a chip in your brain or whatever it is. I think they'll be able to do that. I think the technology will be there in 30 years, if not 10, for them to be able to do that on a mass scale. We're talking hundreds of thousands of people who could potentially be living in this digital place. But then again, you have to think about those people in the real world, even though they are hooked up to something that is being controlled by the government. or a private corporation as well. I'm not sure. I don't know if I'd like either option, but they're being controlled there, but they still have to consume resources. They still have to eat food and drink. Although maybe if you have the chip, you're able to regulate their body down so they only consume so much energy, so they don't need to eat or drink as often as possible. Maybe there's that kind of biohacking that goes on, and you're able to stay seated or standing or however you interact in the metaverse for hours and hours and hours and possibly days on end without eating or drinking. I don't know. I hope that we don't get to a point where things are just only digital. There is no thing such as private property. The World Economic Forum, you will own nothing and you will be happy. People out there, organizations that are hoping for a more digitalized society. I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. I definitely think there are good and bad things about it. If you have one company that owns the metaverse, there's only Facebook and there's only the metaverse, and everybody's on the metaverse. Facebook controls everything. But if you have a metaverse server and it's controlled by a singular country, that's also not good. Or you have a country come out with its own digital world. That's also not good. A lot of things to think about. Let's shift. Talk about some physics. A topic I know nothing about, but let's go anyways.
Our national security, because it opens new realms for maintaining safe, secure, and effective nuclear deterrent where we do not have nuclear testing that are found only in the stars. The second thing is, of course, is that this milestone means one of carbon.
Nice. Let's see if they have a video of it. You're able to actually see the fusion that happens. See, it's crazy. It's this particle that is sped up. Is that David Lucas? The comedian? That's the comedian David Lucas. Guys, if you don't know David Lucas, right here on the screen, very funny comedian. Go check him out. It's weird that he was right there. I'm trying to find this video. Eh. All right. So this is a New York Times article talking about, I mean, as scientists achieve nuclear fusion breakthrough with blast of 192 lasers. So what they did is they took a lot of lasers, they fired it to a certain particle, and they created something that a atom that was able to gain more mass. They got more energy out than what they put in, basically is what I'm trying to say. However, this is from the bulletin.org, bulletin of the atomic scientists. This article, December 16th. It's not really about generating electricity. This week's headlines have been full of reports about a major breakthrough in nuclear fusion technology that many of those reports misleadingly suggested augurs a future of abundant, clean energy produced by fusion nuclear power plants. To be sure, many of those reports lightly hedge their enthusiasm by noting that, as The Guardian put it, major hurdles to a fusion-powered world remain. Indeed, they do. Fusion achievement is scientifically significant, but the significance does not relate primarily to electricity generation. Kind of talks about the laboratory itself, NIF. Focus the facility's 192 layers on a target containing a small capsule of deuterium, tritium fuel, compressing it and inducing what is known as ignition. In a written press release, the Energy Department described the achievement this way, quote, "On December 5th, a team at LLNL's National Ignition Facility conducted the first control fusion experiment in history to reach this, quote, fusion ignition, end quote, milestone, also known as scientific energy break-even, meaning it produced more energy from fusion than the laser energy used to drive it. This historic first of its kind achievement will provide unprecedented capabilities to support blah 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 in blah blah. Because of how the Energy Department presented the breakthrough news in a news conference, headlined by Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm, as you saw earlier, news coverage has largely glossed over its implications for monitoring the country's nuclear weapons stockpile. Instead, even many serious news outlets focused on the possibility of carbon-free fusion-powered electricity generation, even though the NIF achievement has at best a distant and tangential connection to power production. And you can read the rest of the article here. Talks about kind of what exactly went wrong. But I have this guy, Anton Petrov. Great YouTuber to follow. Make sure you watch all of his video. He's is great, and he talks about kind of this specific case. Now that he also talks about earlier in the video other types of research that they're doing, so other ways that they're trying to create this fusion, and one of those is through magnets. There's very cool videos if you look online of that, of them trying to spin plasma and heat it up to a certain point. But with the new one that you saw the energy secretary speaking on, that was with lasers, 192 lasers, if you remember. But he also pointed out in this section that other labs try to use lasers to help shoot this particle and create more energy than what they had put in, but they just weren't able to do it at a good efficiency. But we'll address the shortcomings and the buts here.
So the first issue with this particular experiment, or with this actual announcement, is the slight clarification that needs to be made in regards to the total energy input. So yes, the lasers were outputting approximately 2.05 megajoules, focusing the beams at the center.
A lot of energy, and now you have to get more energy out than what you put in.
And when the pellet ignited, it was able to release 3.15 megajoules of energy.
That's more.
So approximately 1.1 megajoule in total. Now I think that's about 300 watt hours, which basically means that I guess I could maybe record one single video for about an hour or so.
So what he's saying is that would produce the amount of energy that you put in. It's a lot of energy to put in, and you still get out more, but in total, it's only about 300 watts. And that's not enough to power an entire city, much less a house. So it's not enough energy.
Using my current setup, my current computer, it does use actually very, very little. But that's obviously just a proof of concept. Here's the issue though. In order to power those lasers, those 200 lasers, and in order to amplify everything, or basically in order to even get to this point, the scientists had to input a lot more energy from the outside. The actual input of energy to the entire facility during the experiment was approximately 300 megajoules.
So think about that. They're putting in a lot of energy, 300 megajoules, and they're getting, you'll see
That's
them,
about 100 times higher than the total output, which basically means that the actual efficiency of the particular experiment was really only about 1%.
which is not good. Not good at all. And he also goes on to finish the video talking about this.
We're not done yet. There's actually another major problem. The problem of being able to fire these lasers more frequently. In order for this to be an efficient reaction where it produces energy to, for example, power a city, you'd want to initiate reactions inside these pellets possibly up to 100,000 times per day, or at least a few thousand at the least. But here's the problem. After decades and decades of research inside the lab, the best the scientists could achieve so far is once per day. They can literally only do this one time. After all of the preparations, after pretty much everything is ready to fire, this can be done once, and then it takes a few hours, actually almost a day, to replace everything to make sure everything works in order to try this experiment again.
Because you got to make sure that all the mirrors of all the lasers are all working, that there's nothing that's going wrong with the experiment for you to create this energy. If one thing's off, it could potentially mess it up. And these are very powerful lasers as well. I mean, you heard him talk about the amount of power that is put into these things in order to receive very little on the output. Overall, yes, good. Yes, they had a nuclear fusion breakthrough. But and I do recommend that you watch Anton's entire video. He does a great job explaining this. Great job explaining this. Make sure you go follow him, go check it out. Moving on, the Artemis mission. I didn't talk about it at all. This was one of those missions that was delayed so much. There's so many delays for it. But now we have it, and we have the first mission. It launched using the SLS. I think it's called the Sol Singular Launch System or Solar Launch System from pad 39B at the Kennedy Space Center, November 16th. You see it come off, starts to rotate, and then you see it kind of go boom, and it goes and it passes right by the moon, right by the dark side. There it is after liftoff. Orion traveled approximately 40,000 miles beyond the moon and returned to Earth over the course of 25 and a half days. And this is a test mission as well, to keep that in mind. So this is ultimately going to be a manned mission to the moon where they ultimately set up a base on the moon. Orion service module will also perform the first of a series of burns to keep Orion on course towards the moon approximately 8 hours after its launch. In the coming days, mission controllers at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston will conduct additional checkouts and course corrections as needed. Flyby November 21st of the moon. And then separation, thousands of people helping support it. Awesome. And then you have the touchdown. This happened a couple days ago. You can see Pat goes down in the Pacific Ocean, traveling more than 1.4 million miles on a path around the moon and returning to Earth safely, completing the Artemis 1 flight test. All right. During the mission, Orion performed 2 lunar flybys coming within 80 miles of the lunar surface. At its furthest distance during the mission, Orion traveled nearly 270,000 miles from our home planet, more than 1,000 times further than where the International Space Station orbits Earth. With Orion safely returned to Earth, we can now begin to see our next mission on the horizon, which will fly crew to the moon for the first time as part of the next era exploration, said Jim Free, a NASA Associate Administrator for the Exploration Systems Development Missions Directorate. This is the start of something that's going to change the world. And this is a great article speaking about what their plans for the moon are. Andrew Tarantola. Amid the pantheon of Greek gods, few are more revered than Artemis, goddess of the hunt, chastity, and the moon, mistress of animals, daughter of Zeus, and twin sister to Apollo. Famed for her pledge to never marry, feared from that time she turned the peeping Actaeon into a stag and set his own hunting dogs upon him. Artemis has stood as a feminist icon for millennia. It seems only fitting then that NASA names after her a trailblazing mission that will see both the first woman and first person of color set foot on the moon, ahead of humanity's first off-planet colony. They've been naming it for Lumba Bum, 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 bum. Here is a video made by them. This is 11 minutes if you want to check it out. This is kind of just you can kind of see how big these things are, and stage 4 RS-20. They're really building these things up so that they can have human piloted missions to the planet itself, and they're going to have grand ideas of what they're going to do on this entirely different place. It's going to change science. It's going to change our lives. Under the Artemis program, humanity will explore regions of the moon never visited before, uniting people around the unknown, the never see, and the once impossible, said Jim Brindenstein in 2020. We will return to the moon robotically beginning next year, send astronauts to the surface within 4 years, and build a long-term presence on the moon by the end of the decade. He said that in 2020. It's about to be 2023. Let's go. The Artemis program was held further in 2017 when President Trump signed Space Policy Directive 1, provides for a U.S.-led integrated program with private sector partners for a human return to the moon, followed by missions to Mars and beyond. The moon landing goal pushed up 4 years to 2024, though its original goal of Mars in the 2030s remained unchanged. So they're speeding things up in terms of the moon. But boom, here is this Artemis Phase 1, Path to the Lunar Surface. You can see right here. Artemis 1, first human spacecraft to the moon in the 21st century. Then Artemis 2, first humans to orbit the moon in the 21st century. Artemis support mission, first high-powered solar electric propulsion system. And then another Artemis support mission, first pressurized module delivered to Gateway. So they're starting to build something in orbit. Artemis support mission. This is the third one. Human landing system delivered to Gateway. So a way to get to and from the moon. Artemis 3, crewed mission to Gateway and lunar surface. Now on the bottom, you can see, kind of going left to right. Starting with Artemis 1, early South Pole missions. First robotic landing on eventual human lunar return and in-site resource utilization site. First ground truth of polar crater volatiles. I'm not sure what that means. And then also commercial lunar payload services. Delivered science and technology payloads. This is during the first two Artemis missions. So when humans are going to be orbiting the moon, you're going to have these things on the surface for them for later missions. Then around the time where the support missions are coming to help build that orbiter, large scale cargo lander, increased capabilities for science and technology payloads. You're going to have that coming up next. And then finally, humans are going to be on the moon with that Artemis 3 mission. And this graph is saying it'll about be 2024. First crew leverages infrastructure left behind by previous missions. So that's where the humans come. They'll go to the early South Pole missions, commercial lunar payload services, and that large scale cargo lander. All of that cargo they're going to interact with. Now it talks about Space Launch System is what it's called. Got it. You kind of see the rockets right here, how big they are, the Orion spacecraft itself. Once again, it's a really good article talking about all the things that you need. So Artemis support missions. We need several years in orbit on the surface of the moon to build operational confidence for conducting long-term work and supporting life away from Earth before we can embark on the first multi-year human mission to Mars. Bridenstine said in 2020, the sooner we get to the moon, the sooner we get American astronauts to Mars. And we definitely want to get people there. But before we can build confidence in our ability to survive on Mars, we need to build confidence in our ability to survive on the moon. And then it goes on to continue to talk about the missions that will help humans survive on the moon. The Capstone mission, for example, successfully landed a 55-pound CubeSat in June to confirm NASA's math for the much larger Gateway future orbital path. While in orbit, the Capstone will communicate and coordinate some of its maneuvers with the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, which has been circling the moon since 2009. In 2023, NASA also plans to launch the Viper robotic rover to the moon's south pole. That was what you saw in the graph earlier, where it will search the lowest, darkest, coldest craters for accessible water ice. Finding a source for H2O is of paramount importance to the long-term viability of the colony. In space, water isn't just for drinking and bathing. It can be split into its component atoms and used to fuel our oxidizing rockets, potentially turning the moon into an orbital gas station as we push further out from Earth, which I support. The rover and others like it will be delivered to the surface as part of NASA Commercial Lunar Payload Services program. Talking about possibility for that on the moon. So this is the Gateway integrated spacecraft configuration. Going to go through all this human landing system. This is a concept of what they're going to jump off of this with power and propulsion element. You see right here, that's what's going to be propelling this thing in its orbit. Once it is fully set up and these components are all there. Gateway external robotic system, not too sure. Logistics modules, airlock, a refueler, international habitation, and logistics outpost. In addition to a surface installation, NASA plans on putting a full-fledged space station dubbed the Lunar Gateway into orbit around the moon, where it will serve much the same purposes as the ISS does today. Visiting researchers will stay aboard the pressurized habitation and logistics outpost modules will have access to research features, remote rover controls, and docking for both Orion capsules from the Earth and the human landing system landers to the moon's surface. A 60 kilowatt solar plant will provide power to the station, which also serves as a communication relay hub with the planet. Interesting. And then this is going to be the place where they're going to launch off from and go down to the surface and then come right back up and go back. All right, the Artemis base camp. Here's another video of the South Pole landing site. Let's take a quick look at this. Moon rover South Pole. This is where the rover is going to go to look for water. South Pole right here. It's pretty dark. Right here on the South Pole, you can see some ice. Is there a particular place where it's going to be? And you can look. See this little spot right here with a rover chilling on the moon. Noble region. It's going to be searching for water in these areas. Okay, so that's where it's going to land. Gotcha. Artemis base camp. Vehicles, this is talking about rovers on there for the yep. Just as Apollo astronauts famously bounced around on the first gen rovers, will also use lunar terrain vehicles. So that's what LTVs are. Okay. When not in use, the LTVs will be parked at NASA's Artemis base camp at the lunar South Pole alongside a pressurized version designed for longer duration expeditions. The surface habitat itself will be able to support up to 4 residents at a time and provide communications, equipment storage, power, and most importantly, robust radiation shielding. A site hasn't yet been officially selected, though mission planners are looking for areas near the region's permanently shadowed craters where water ice is expected to be most easily acceptable. Astronauts are going to be keep getting more and more comfortable as they go onwards. And then NASA picks SpaceX's Starship for its second crewed Artemis lunar landing. This is what this is what's going to be on the moon. It's going to be a private company that is going to take humans back to the moon for the first time since the 1960s. I believe that we did go to the moon, yes. However, if you give me a good enough argument, I could be swayed elsewhere. I don't know. If you provide me a good argument, I could say maybe. All right. Yeah, you got me. I don't know. I don't know. If you had a good argument for why the moon landing did not happen, I'm listening. I will listen. SpaceX's original contract with NASA was worth 2.9 billion. Will add 1.15 billion dollars to the total. Ooh, that's some cash. The company's Starship lunar lander is expected to take astronauts for the moon for the first time in 2025. However, NASA Inspector General Paul Martin admitted in August that the agency is expecting Artemis 3 launch date to slip to 2026. NASA is anticipating delays related to the development of the human landing system in its next generation spacesuits. NASA Artemis 4 mission, which will take 4 more astronauts to the moon, will take flight in 2027 at the earliest. For now, we're waiting for updates. Boom. Okay. Okay. What does this mean for us? 2026, 2025, humans on the surface of the moon working in real time with an outpost on the moon. 2030, what happens? What is the state of the technology in this country and where does it leave us? Looking back, even looking forward, 2040, what technology is going to be in place? Are there going to be outposts at that time in 2040 on Mars? Folks, I don't think Elon Musk is going to die anytime soon. I don't think Tesla's going to slow down at all. I do hope that this civilization can move to Mars because it is important for our society to move to different planets because this planet's not going to last forever. And I feel like it is part of our responsibility to cultivate the universe, to use the resources that have been given to us. If that's how you want to describe it. But to expand our civilization and reach out into our own galaxy. The Artemis mission is one of the most important missions in years. James Webb as well, but putting people to live and to research on the moon is the first step of being able to get there and stay on another planet for a little while. I don't know if you know, but we haven't stayed a lot on the moon, even when the missions were there. You weren't spending months on the moon. Now we're talking about months, talking about years, possibly in the future, either in orbit around the moon or on the moon surface. And then going forward, possibly Mars. After Mars, possibly Europa. After Europa, possibly into the Kuiper Belt. After the Kuiper Belt, the Oort cloud. After the Oort cloud, we go to Alpha Centauri. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what this mission ultimately will leave. Maybe they completely fail and they shut it down. I wouldn't put it past them. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. Human error is a real thing. But let's hope they do it. Let's see if they do. And I hope each of you is along with me for the ride. Because I think this stuff is interesting, and I know I'm not the best orator or describer of these topics, but these are things that I find interesting, and hopefully you enjoy hanging out with me for a little while, and hopefully you continue to listen to me and you give me feedback. And if I say something that's wrong, call me out on it, please. I'd love to have more people on the podcast, so if there's any guests you think you can throw my way or anybody like that, then by all means. It's much harder to do this when it's just me sitting in an apartment alone. I don't know how good it is for a listener, but I find it so interesting to talk about all this stuff here. So hopefully you find what I do interesting, and hopefully I can help brighten up your day. Zach Morrow Podcast. Thank you.